My parents said, "We spent 95% of your savings to buy your sister's house." My sister mocked me. "You don't have a single penny left." But I burst out laughing because they didn't know that those savings were. The dining room felt smaller than usual that Sunday afternoon. Mom had insisted on a family dinner, which should have been my first warning sign. Dad carved the roast with mechanical precision, while Kristen, my older sister by 3 years, checked her phone between bites. Her husband Brandon sat beside her, contributing nothing to the conversation as usual. "So, sweetheart, we need to discuss something important with you." Mom began setting down her wine glass with deliberate care. My stomach tightened. Nothing good ever followed that phrase. Dad cleared his throat. "Your sister and Brandon found their dream house. It's in Willow Creek, that new development near the country club. 5 bedrooms, beautiful backyard for the kids they're planning." "That's wonderful," I said, genuinely happy for them, despite our complicated relationship. "Congratulations." Kristen's smile carried an edge I couldn't quite identify. "Thanks, little sister. It's been such a stressful process, but we finally got it. The thing is," Mom continued, her voice taking on that tone she used when delivering news she knew I wouldn't like. "The down payment was substantial, more than they had saved." My fork paused halfway to my mouth. "Okay." Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. "We accessed your savings account to help them. The one we set up for you when you were 16. We've been managing it all these years, remember?" The roast suddenly tasted like cardboard. "How much did you take?" 95%, Mom said quickly, as if speed would soften the blow. "But sweetheart, you're only 28. You have plenty of time to save again. Kristen is 31 and her biological clock is ticking. They needed this house now." The room tilted slightly. That account had started with my birthday money, every check from grandparents, every penny from my teenage jobs at the ice cream parlor and the bookstore. I'd watched it grow through college, adding what I could from scholarships and summer internships. "You spent my money without asking me." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "We're your parents," Dad said, finally looking at me. "We have access to that account for a reason. It's still under our names as custodians." Kristen leaned back in her chair, examining her manicured nails. "Don't be dramatic, Angela. You don't have a single penny left to your name now, but you'll recover. You always were good at pinching pennies." Her laugh was almost musical. "Besides, what were you saving for anyway? It's not like you have a boyfriend or any wedding plans on the horizon." Something cold settled in my chest. Brandon smirked into his napkin. Then I started laughing. Not the polite chuckle they expected, but genuine, deep laughter that made my sides ache. Mom's face creased with concern. "Angela, honey, are you all right?" "I'm perfect," I managed between gasps. "You spent 95% of my savings. That's just fantastic." Kristen's eyes narrowed. "Why are you laughing like a crazy person?" "Because," I said, wiping tears from my eyes, "that account you raided. I deliberately kept minimal money in there, maybe $15,000 total. I've been moving everything above that amount into other accounts for the past 6 years." The silence that fell was exquisite. Dad's face went pale. "What do you mean, other accounts?" "I mean, I'm not stupid. You've always favored Kristen. When she needed a car for college, you bought her a brand new Honda. I got nothing and had to save for my own used Toyota. When she wanted to study abroad, you paid for it. When I wanted to take that summer program in New York, you said it was too expensive. I saw the pattern." Mom's hand trembled as she reached for her wine. "That's not fair. We've always loved you both equally. Maybe you love us equally, but you've never treated us equally. So 6 years ago, when I got my first real job after college, I opened accounts you know nothing about. A high-yield savings account at a different bank, investment accounts, a Roth IRA. I've been contributing to them religiously while letting that old account sit there with just enough to look legitimate." Kristen's face flushed red. "You're lying." "I check my bedroom. You won't find any statements because everything's paperless, sent to an email account you don't know exists. I learned early to keep my important things hidden from this family." Brandon finally spoke. "How much are we talking about?" "None of your damn business," I said pleasantly, "but substantially more than the $15,000 you just stole from me. That money you took, consider it the cost of learning exactly where I stand with all of you." Dad stood abruptly. "Now wait just a minute. We didn't steal anything. That account has our names on it. Then I'll contact my attorney tomorrow, Kenneth Morrison, in case you want to look him up. He's been advising me for 2 years now, ever since I started seriously building my financial portfolio." I stood folding my napkin neatly beside my plate. "He'll be very interested to hear about this." "You have a lawyer?" Mom's voice cracked. "Why would you need a lawyer?" "For situations exactly like this one. For protecting myself from family who sees me as an ATM machine for their golden child." I picked up my purse. "Thank you for dinner. And congratulations again on the house, Kristen. I hope it's everything you dreamed of. Where are you going? Dad demanded. Home. To my apartment that I pay for entirely by myself. Unlike some people, I don't need my parents to bankroll my life. Kristen shot to her feet. You ungrateful after everything Mom and Dad have done for you. Like what specifically? What have they done for me that they haven't done twice over for you? I turned to face her fully. I'm genuinely asking because from where I'm standing, I've been funding my own life since I was 18 while watching them pour money into yours. The question hung unanswered. That's what I thought. I headed for the door. Mom followed me into the hallway. Angela, please don't leave like this. We can talk about this. No, I don't think we can. You made a decision without me. You chose Kristen over me again. The only difference this time is that it didn't actually hurt me because I protected myself. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. Do you know what the saddest part is? I'm not even surprised. I'm just disappointed that I still had enough hope in this family to feel disappointed. We'll put the money back, Dad said from behind her. We'll make this right. Don't bother. Keep it. Consider it my final contribution to Kristen's perfect life, but understand that this is the last time you'll have the opportunity to choose her over me, because I'm removing you from that choice. I drove home through blurred vision, hands shaking on the steering wheel. My phone started ringing before I even reached my apartment. I declined the call from Mom, then Dad, then Kristen. By the time I parked, I had 17 missed calls. Inside my apartment, I poured a glass of wine and opened my laptop. The accounts I'd mentioned were very real. My savings account at Meridian Bank held $83,000. My brokerage account had another $45,000 invested in index funds. My Roth IRA was steadily growing. I'd been living below my means for years, driving that same used Toyota, cooking at home, skipping expensive vacations, all while my family assumed I was struggling because I didn't ask them for money. My phone buzzed with the text from Kristen. Mom is crying. Are you happy now? I typed back, I'm not happy or sad. I'm just done. Another text, you always were selfish. This is typical Angela making everything about herself. The irony was rich. I blocked her number. Over the next week, the calls continued. Mom left voicemails begging me to come to family therapy. Dad sent emails about working through this as a family. Kristen oscillated between apologetic texts from Brandon's phone and angry messages from her own. I ignored all of them and contacted Kenneth Morrison. They had legal access to the account he confirmed after reviewing the documentation, but we can make their lives uncomfortable if you want to pursue this. The court of public opinion might be interested in parents who raided their daughter's savings. No, I decided. That's not worth it. I want to ensure they can never access anything of mine again. Can we do that? Absolutely. I'll draft a cease and desist. Plus, we'll put alerts on your credit. If they try to open anything in your name, you'll know immediately within 10 days. My parents received formal legal notice that any further access to my financial accounts would be considered theft and prosecuted accordingly. The letter also demanded they remove themselves as custodians from the original account and transfer the remaining funds to an account solely in my name. Dad called from an unknown number getting past my blocks. A lawyer, Angela. Really? You're threatening your own parents with legal action. You stole from me. What did you expect? We didn't steal. We borrowed for your sister's future. Without my permission. That's theft, Dad. Dress it up however you want. When did you become so cold? The question actually made me laugh bitter and sharp. I became this way after years of watching you choose Kristen over me and pretending not to notice. I became this way when I realized that protecting myself was the only option because my own family wouldn't. He hung up. 3 weeks after the dinner, Kristen showed up at my office. Security called before letting her up, and I considered refusing. Curiosity won. She looked tired, makeup not quite concealing the dark circles under her eyes. We need to talk. I'm working. Angela, please, 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I led her to a conference room. What do you want, Kristen? To apologize. I was awful at that dinner. The things I said about you, not having anyone about, not having any money left. That was cruel. It was honest. You've always thought less of me. She flinched. That's not true. Isn't it? You've spent our entire lives accepting everything Mom and Dad gave you while looking down on me for having less. You've made comments about my car, my apartment, my clothes. You've introduced me to your friends as my little sister who's still figuring things out. Even though I have a successful career in data analysis. I didn't mean, yes, you did. You meant all of it. Just like you meant it when you took my savings without a second thought. That was Mom and Dad's decision, not mine. But you benefited from it and you mocked me for it. You stood in their dining room and laughed at me for being broke. I crossed my arms. Now you know I'm not broke and suddenly you want to apologize. That's not remorse, Kristen. That's embarrassment. Her jaw tightened. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I'm embarrassed. Brandon's father asked where we got the down payment, and when Brandon told him, Mr. Patterson lost his mind. He called it entitled and inappropriate. He's barely speaking to us now. So you're here because your father-in-law thinks you're spoiled, not because you actually feel bad for what you did to me. I do feel bad. No, you feel bad about the consequences. There's a difference. I stood. We're done here. Go home to your dream house and enjoy it. But we're done pretending to be sisters who care about each other. Angela, you can't mean that. We're a family. Family doesn't steal from each other. Family doesn't mock each other's pain. Whatever we are, it's not family in any meaningful sense. I opened the conference room door. Goodbye, Kristen. She left crying. I went back to my desk and tried to focus on spreadsheets, but my hands shook for an hour afterward. That evening, Aunt Lorraine called. Mom's older sister had always been the family truth teller, the one who said what everyone else danced around. Your mother told me what happened, she said without preamble. I told her she's an idiot. Despite everything, I smiled. Thanks, Aunt Lorraine. I'm serious. I've watched her baby Kristen for 30 years while expecting you to just handle everything on your own. It's been infuriating from the outside, so I can't imagine living it. It's been a journey. Evelyn called me crying, saying you've cut them all off and she doesn't understand why. Lorraine snorted. I told her exactly why. I told her she spent your entire life making you feel like second best, and now she's shocked that you protected yourself from her. Aunt Lorraine sighed. She didn't want to hear it. She never does. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Setting up those other accounts, protecting your assets, standing up for yourself, that takes strength. You've always had to be the strong one because nobody else would be strong for you. Her words broke something loose in my chest. I found myself crying, really crying, for the first time since the dinner. I'm so tired of being strong. I know, sweetheart, I know. We talked for another hour. She told me about her own experiences with Mom, the favoritism she'd witnessed growing up, the patterns that had repeated through generations. It helped knowing I wasn't crazy or oversensitive. Work became my refuge over the following months. I threw myself into a major project analyzing customer data patterns for a retail chain, often staying late into the evening. My colleague Monica noticed. You're here more than usual, she observed one night, finding me still at my desk at 8:00 p.m. Everything okay? Family stuff, I said vaguely. The kind that makes you avoid going home. The kind that makes me grateful I have my own home to go to. She sat on the edge of my desk. My sister stole my identity when I was 25. Opened credit cards, racked up debt, destroyed my credit score. I didn't speak to her for 7 years. Did you ever reconcile? Eventually. But it took her hitting rock bottom and going through serious therapy before I could trust her again. Some family betrayals aren't just about the money or the thing they took. They're about what the taking reveals about how they see you. Her words stayed with me. The project I'd been working on wrapped up in early October, 3 months after the initial fallout. Our team had successfully identified purchasing patterns that could save the client millions annually. My manager, Patricia, called me into her office the day we presented our findings. Exceptional work on this, Angela, she said, gesturing for me to sit. The client specifically mentioned your analysis in their feedback. They were impressed by the depth and clarity. Thank you, it was a team effort. Don't minimize your contribution. You led the statistical modeling portion, and it was flawless. Patricia leaned forward. I'm recommending you for senior analyst. The position comes with a significant raise and more autonomy on project selection. The promotion felt like validation exactly the moment I needed it. While my family saw me as someone to be used and discarded my professional life recognized my actual worth, I accepted immediately. By April, the promotion had been formalized with a 12% raise that went straight into my investment accounts. That evening, I treated myself to dinner at an upscale Italian restaurant I had been wanting to try. Sitting alone at a table for one, I raised a glass of wine to myself. No family to share the achievement with, but also no one to diminish it or make it about someone else. My phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Angela, this is Kristen. I got your new number from Aunt Lorraine. Please don't be mad at her, I begged. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need you to understand something. The house Brandon and I bought were already struggling with the payments. The property taxes were higher than we anticipated, and the HOA fees are crushing us. Mom and Dad won't help anymore because of you. I don't know what you said to them, but they've completely changed. Brandon is furious. This is ruining my marriage. I hope you're satisfied. I stared at the message, anger flooding through me. Even now, even after everything she was blaming me. Not herself for accepting stolen money, not our parents for taking it, me, for having the audacity to protect myself and set boundaries. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on the simplest one: lose this number. Then I blocked her and called Aunt Lorraine. I didn't give her your number, she said immediately upon answering. She saw it on my phone when I wasn't looking and memorized it. I'm so sorry, honey. It's fine. I blocked her. I took a breath. She says Mom and Dad won't help them with the house payments. Is that true? It is. Your father put his foot down, said they needed to handle their own financial responsibilities. Your mother wanted to help, but he convinced her it would just be enabling Kristen further. Wow, I never thought I'd see the day. People can surprise you. Not always pleasantly, but sometimes they do grow. Aunt Lorraine paused. How are you really doing, Angela, beyond the surface level? The question caught me off guard. Nobody had asked me that in a caring way since this whole mess started. Even my own concern had been about logistics and protection, rather than emotional processing. I don't know, I admitted. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm sad about losing a family I never really had in the first place. Some days I feel free and relieved. It changes hour by hour. That's normal. Grief isn't linear, and what you're experiencing is grief. Grieving the family you deserved, the relationships that could have been, the parents who should have protected you instead of exploited you. Tears prick my eyes. I keep wondering if I'm being too harsh, if I should give them another chance. Do you want to give them another chance? No, but I feel guilty for not wanting to. Then you have your answer. Guilt is just their programming still running in your head. You can acknowledge it and let it pass without acting on it. Her voice softened. You deserve to prioritize your own healing, Angela. You spent your whole life prioritizing everyone else. We talked for another hour, her wisdom and perspective helping untangle the mess of emotions I'd been carrying. By the time we hung up, I felt clearer, more centered in my decision. November arrived with early snow. I started seeing a therapist myself, a woman named Dr. Harlow, who specialized in family trauma and estrangement. Our first session, I unloaded the entire story, the years of favoritism, the stolen savings, the aftermath. What do you want from these sessions? She asked when I finished. I want to stop feeling guilty for protecting myself. I want to understand why I keep questioning whether I did the right thing when I know objectively that I did. Those are good goals. Let's start with a question. If a friend came to you with this exact story, what would you tell them? That they were justified in cutting off contact, that their family betrayed them, that they don't owe their abusers anything. But you can't extend that same compassion to yourself. Apparently not. Dr. Harlow smiled gently. That's what we'll work on. Learning to treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show others. Learning that setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-preservation. Over the following weeks, therapy became another anchor point. I started understanding the dynamics that had shaped my childhood, how golden child scapegoat patterns develop, how parents unconsciously recreate their own family traumas, how children learn to accommodate dysfunction to survive. Months passed. I changed my phone number and only gave it to people I actually wanted to hear from. I skipped Thanksgiving telling Aunt Lorraine I was traveling for work. Christmas came and went with me, volunteering at a soup kitchen instead of enduring awkward family gatherings. My bank accounts continued to grow. In July, I received another promotion at work, this time to lead analyst overseeing a team of 3 junior analysts. The additional responsibility came with another raise that I immediately divided between savings and investments. The old me would have felt guilty about having money while cutting off my family. The new me recognized that guilt as a tool they'd use to control me. In February, nearly 6 months after the disastrous dinner, I received a letter. Not an email, not a text, an actual handwritten letter from my father. Dear Angela, I've started this letter a dozen times and thrown away each attempt. Your mother thinks I shouldn't bother that you've made your position clear, but I'm your father, and I need to say this even if you never respond. You were right about everything. I've spent the past 6 months reviewing our family finances, looking at every decision we made regarding you and your sister. The evidence is damning. We paid for Kristen's car, her study abroad, her wedding, her honeymoon. We gave her down payment assistance for her first apartment when she and Brandon had financial trouble 2 years ago. We paid off her credit cards. For you, we gave you a used laptop for college graduation and thought we were being generous. I told myself we were helping Kristen because she needed it more, because she struggled more, but that wasn't true. Kristen struggled because we enabled her to never develop financial discipline. You thrived because we forced you to figure everything out alone. We didn't make you strong. You were strong, despite us, not because of us. Taking your savings was the final straw in a lifetime of choosing your sister over you. I understand why you can't forgive us. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I'm writing to tell you that you deserve better from us, and I'm sorry we failed you. Your mother is struggling with this. She sees it as you rejecting the family over money. I've tried to explain it's about respect and trust and love, but she's not ready to hear it. Kristen and Brandon are struggling with their mortgage. The house payment is more than they anticipated, and they're behind on several bills. Part of me wants to help them. The other part knows that helping would prove I learned nothing from losing you. I'm choosing not to help them this time. It feels terrible, but it also feels necessary. I don't expect you to respond to this letter. I don't expect anything from you anymore. I just wanted you to know that I see what we did. I understand why you left, and I'm sorry. Love, Dad. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. It didn't fix anything. Words on paper couldn't undo years of favoritism and the ultimate betrayal of taking my money. But something in me loosened slightly a knot I'd been carrying that eased just enough to breathe. I didn't respond to the letter. Instead, I put it in a drawer and went about my life. Spring arrived with unexpected warmth. I started dating someone I met through a friend of Monica's, a software engineer named Lucas, who knew nothing about my family drama and didn't press when I kept details vague. We took things slow, enjoying easy conversations and Sunday morning hikes. One Saturday in April, I was at the farmer's market when I ran into Brandon. He looked worse than Kristen had at my office, wearing rumpled clothes and sporting several days of stubble. Angela, he said, clearly startled. Hey, Brandon. I kept my tone neutral, continuing to examine the organic tomatoes in front of me. How have you been? Good. You. He laughed sharp and humorless. Honestly terrible. Kristen and I are probably getting divorced. I looked up at that. I'm sorry to hear it. Are you? Your parents cut us off financially. Your dad actually said no when Kristen asked for help with the mortgage. He's never said no to her before. Brandon ran a hand through his unwashed hair. We're 3 months behind. The bank is threatening foreclosure. That's unfortunate. That's all you have to say. Your sister is losing her house. The house you bought with stolen money. I selected 3 tomatoes and moved to the next stall. That house, he followed me. Come on, Angela. You know your parents made that decision. Kristen didn't force them. No, she just accepted the money without question and then mocked me for being broke. Let's not revise history, Brandon. We need help. Your dad mentioned you have money saved. I stopped walking and turned to face him fully. Let me be very clear. I would rather light my money on fire than give a single penny to you or my sister. You both made choices that revealed exactly who you are. Live with the consequences. Jesus, when did you become so heartless? Around the time my family stole from me and laughed about it. Funny how that changes a person. I paid for my vegetables and walked away, leaving him standing among the produce stalls. My hands shook as I loaded groceries into my car, adrenaline coursing through my system. Part of me felt guilty, the old Angela who'd been conditioned to sacrifice herself for family peace. But a stronger part felt vindicated. They'd made their bed with my stolen savings. They could lie in it. That evening, Mom called from yet another new number. I almost didn't answer. I know you don't want to talk to me, she said when I picked up, but please just listen for 1 minute. I said nothing, which she took as permission. Kristen is losing everything. Her house, her marriage, her stability. She's my daughter, Angela. I can't just watch her fall apart. But you could watch me struggle alone for years. That's different. You were always so capable, so independent. Because I had to be. Because you gave me no choice. I sat down heavily on my couch. You're calling to ask me for money, aren't you? Not for me, for your sister. She's family. So am I. Or I was before you decided my savings were community property for Kristen's benefit. We made a mistake. We know that now. But please don't punish Kristen for our error in judgment. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply declining to rescue someone who gleefully participated in robbing me. Those are different things. Angela, when did you become so cold? You used to be such a sweet, caring girl. That girl learned that being sweet and caring got her exploited. She learned that her own family would betray her trust without hesitation. She learned that protecting herself was the only option. I took a breath. I'm not cold. I'm just no longer willing to set myself on fire to keep other people warm. Your father and I are trying to do better. We've been reading books about family dynamics and favoritism we're trying to change. That's great. Genuinely, I hope you succeed. But your growth doesn't obligate me to give you another chance to hurt me. Mom started crying. Once upon a time, her tears would have broken me. Now I felt only a distant sadness. I have to go, Mom. I hope you figure things out. I really do. But I can't be part of that process. I hung up and immediately blocked the number. Lucas came over that night with Thai food and listened to the whole story. I'd been keeping it from him, ashamed of my family dysfunction, but he deserved to know who he was dating. So they stole your money, mocked you for it, and now want you to bail them out of the consequences, he summarized. Basically. And you feel guilty for saying no. Shouldn't I? Kristen is losing her house. That's serious. Lucas set down his pad thai and looked at me seriously. You know what's also serious? Family members who steal from you and show no real remorse until they want something else. Your guilt is a trained response, Angela. They trained you to feel responsible for Kristen's happiness. His words hit like a revelation. He was right. Every time I felt guilty, it was because I'd been conditioned to prioritize Kristen's needs over my own well-being. I'm not giving them money, I said aloud, testing how it felt. Good, you shouldn't. Even if Kristen loses the house, especially then. She's an adult who made choices. Adults face consequences. Something settled in my chest, solid and certain. Yeah, you're right. We finished dinner and watched a movie, his arm around my shoulders, and I felt lighter than I had in months. The house went into foreclosure in June. Aunt Lorraine called to tell me, her voice sympathetic but not judgmental. They're moving into a 2-bedroom apartment across town, she said. Brandon's parents are helping with a deposit, though his relationship with them is strained. How's Kristen handling it? About as well as you'd expect. Lots of blaming everyone else, particularly you. Your mother is beside herself. I'm sorry she's hurting, but I'm not sorry I refused to enable this. Nor should you be. I told Evelyn the same thing. She made her bed with years of favoritism, and now she's sleeping in it. Sometimes consequences are the only teachers people will listen to. Do you think they'll ever actually change? Aunt Lorraine was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I don't know. Your father seems to be trying. Your mother is still in denial about her role in all this. Kristen sees herself as a victim. Whether any of them can truly change remains to be seen. I guess time will tell. It will. But Angela, don't wait around to find out. Live your life, be happy, you've earned it. I took her advice. Lucas and I grew more serious, talking about moving in together by fall. Work continued to go well. I received another promotion in July, this time to senior analyst. My savings accounts hit 6 figures combined. I started looking at condos, imagining a place truly my own. In August, nearly a year after the disastrous dinner, I received a package. Inside was a check for $15,000 and a letter from Kristen. Angela, this is the money Mom and Dad took from your account. It took me this long to save it, working a second job on weekends while Brandon works nights. I'm paying you back because it's the right thing to do, even though we desperately need this money ourselves. I've spent the past year angry at you. Angry that you cut us off. Angry that you refused to help when we were drowning. Angry that you seemed to move on so easily while my life fell apart. But my therapist, yes, I'm in therapy now, helped me understand something. You didn't cause my problems. My choices did. Mom and Dad's choices did. Taking your money was wrong, and mocking you for it was cruel. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a relationship. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what I did to you, and I'm sorry. The house is gone. My marriage is barely surviving. I'm working 2 jobs and living in an apartment I hate. But I'm starting to understand that this is what accountability looks like. This is what happens when you spend your whole life having someone else clean up your messes. I hope you're happy wherever you are. I genuinely mean that. Kristen. I stared at the check for a long time. $15,000 that clearly needed to be returned because it was mine. The letter felt different from my father's. Rawer, less polished, more genuine in its pain. I deposited the check and wrote my own letter back. Kristen, thank you for returning the money. I know that wasn't easy. I'm not ready to rebuild a relationship with you or Mom and Dad. Maybe someday, but not now. The hurt runs too deep and trust takes time to rebuild. But I want you to know I don't hate you. I'm not happy you're struggling. I just can't sacrifice my own well-being to prevent your struggle anymore. I hope therapy helps. I hope you find stability. I hope you learn to stand on your own because you're capable of so much more than what Mom and Dad's enabling allowed you to become. Take care of yourself, Angela. I mailed it and felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the beginning of letting go of the anger that had fueled me for the past year. Fall arrived with cooling temperatures and changing leaves. Lucas and I found a condo we loved, signing the lease in October. I told Aunt Lorraine the address, but no one else in my family. She understood. Your mother asks about you constantly, she mentioned during one of our weekly calls. I tell her you're doing well and leave it at that. How is she? Starting to see a therapist herself, actually. Your father pushed for it. They're working through a lot of their parenting patterns. That's good. Growth is good. Even if you never reconcile, they needed to do this work. Yeah, they did. On Thanksgiving, Lucas and I hosted our own dinner with friends. Monica came along with several colleagues and Lucas's brother and sister-in-law. The apartment filled with laughter and good food with people who chose to be there, rather than people obligated by blood. Midway through dinner, I received a text from an unknown number. Happy Thanksgiving, Angela. I miss you, Dad. I showed it to Lucas. Should I respond? Do you want to? Did I? The anger had faded over the months, replaced by something more complex. Sadness for what we'd never had. Acceptance that some relationships couldn't be fixed. Gratitude for the family I'd chosen, rather than the one I'd been born into. I typed back, Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you're well. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't forgiveness. It was just acknowledgement that he existed, that I'd seen his message, that some tiny thread still connected us, even if it would never be what it once was. Christmas came quietly. Lucas and I spent it alone, exchanging modest gifts and cooking an elaborate dinner. Neither of us had attempted before. It felt peaceful in a way the holidays never had with my family. In January, over a year since everything fell apart, I ran into my mother at a coffee shop. She looked older, more tired, but also somehow more at peace. Angela, she said softly, you look wonderful. Thanks, you look good too. Can we talk just for a few minutes? Every instinct screamed to say no and walk away, but something in her eyes, a vulnerability I'd never seen before, made me nod. We sat at a corner table, coffees between us. I'm not going to ask you to come back to the family, she began. I'm not going to ask for money, or for you to help Kristen, or for anything at all, really. I just wanted to tell you that you were right about everything. Okay. Your father and I have been in therapy for months. We've been examining our patterns, our favoritism, all the ways we failed you. Her voice cracked slightly. We raised you to be independent because it was easier than addressing Kristen's struggles. We threw money at her problems instead of teaching her to solve them herself. And we took you for granted because you never asked for help. Yeah, you did. I can't undo any of it. I can't give you back the childhood you deserved or the support we should have provided. I can only tell you I'm sorry and that I'm trying to be better. For what I'm not coming back. For me. For your father. For Kristen, who's finally learning to stand on her own. Mom wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. And maybe someday, far in the future, so that if you ever want to give us another chance, we'll have done the work to deserve it. I studied her face, looking for manipulation or guilt trips. I found only honest regret. I appreciate that I said carefully, but I can't promise anything. I know, I don't expect you to. She stood gathering her purse. I'm glad you're doing well, Angela. Truly, you deserve every bit of happiness you've found. She left without asking for my phone number, or where I lived, or when she'd see me again. The restraint felt like respect, something she'd never shown me before. I sat with my coffee for another hour processing. They were changing, maybe growing, possibly, but that didn't obligate me to be part of their journey. February brought a surprise. An invitation to Kristen's birthday party forwarded by Aunt Lorraine with a note. Thought you should see this. No pressure to attend. The invitation was simple for a small gathering at her apartment. No mention of gifts, no expectation of reconciliation, just an acknowledgement that she was turning 32 and would be celebrating modestly. I didn't go, but I sent a card with a gift certificate to a nice restaurant. A small gesture that said I acknowledged her existence without committing to more. She sent a thank you note a week later, brief and sincere, asking for nothing. Small steps, I thought. Maybe someday they'd add up to something. Or maybe they wouldn't. Either way, I'd built a life I loved, surrounded by people who valued me, with savings accounts that proved I could protect and provide for myself. The story didn't have a neat ending because life rarely does. My parents continued therapy. Kristen continued working 2 jobs and rebuilding her life. I continued dating Lucas, growing my career, and nurturing the chosen family I created. Some days I missed what I'd never really had, a family that put me first. Parents who saw me as clearly as they saw my sister. Other days I felt nothing but gratitude for the wake-up call that dinner had provided, because in trying to take everything from me, they'd accidentally shown me I'd already saved myself.